everyone, and welcome to our catalogue intro webinar. I'm Sarah, Digital Access Librarian, and Tom and Rebecca are with me today to share tips on how you can search our collections and explore your catalogue features in your account. So you can ask us questions over at Slido with the event code, Our Online Collections, because that's the name of this series, where we explore things that are available to you at home, including ebooks, databases, digitized images, and more. It's all free for members. And the catalogue is really the gateway to our collections. And with a few tips from us, you'll be searching faster and you'll learn how to keep track of your favorite things. So let's start with a simple search using the search box at the top of our web page. If I know what I'm looking for, I can choose a specific example from the drop-down menu. I can add some filters like date range, availability, or I can just put in my keyword and search all of our collections. And just a note on that keyword, I put in plants because it's something I'm interested in at the moment. You could put in title, author, or a topic. Just be careful about your spelling, and you might want to also think about if there's any synonyms for that word that you're using. So now we'll start to see the results in the catalogue. If I scroll down, we've got over 11,000. I can use the filters on the right-hand side to refine my results. I can choose subject, resource type, I can choose the author, and more. So at the moment, I want online items only, because I know the library's closed and I can't see the books. And I'll choose pictures, so we've got something nice to look at while I demonstrate. I'll click apply, and I can add more filters if I want to. I can also remove these by clicking the X next to each one. When I scroll down, I can see brief details about each result and some information about how to access it. If I want more details, I'll just click on the title. Now above our results, we've got this resource recommender. We've set this up so that based on your keyword, we'll direct you to useful databases, websites, research guides, and more. So I can close this down. That was simple search. I'll just point out across the top, we've got these extra tools to explore different parts of our collection, and we've also got a help page. We've got advanced search over on the right. And now, Rebecca, can you please take us through advanced search?
Yes, thanks very much, Sarah. So with the advanced search, we can do a slightly more sophisticated search. I'll show you, this is on the advanced screen, I'll show you some of the options here. So in the top line here, you can see that you can define what part of the catalogue record you would like to search, or rather what type of material you're looking for. So anything from articles, books, journals, pictures, maps, etc. And then on the left-hand side here is where you can search within a particular area of the catalogue record. So you could just search within the title or the author or the subject. And there are some other options you'll see that we can have a quick look at later on as well, like place, newspaper published, the publisher name, etc. So the first thing I'm going to demonstrate is if, for example, I wanted to do a search on diabetes, I'm going to quickly put in the word there and do the search. So now you'll see from the list of results that I've got a huge number of results, and I'll just go back up here so you can actually see how many I've got. So in the black line there, it will show you 942 results. But I want to narrow down my result a bit more, and in particular, I'm looking for treatment of diabetes. So I'm going to put in treatment here and do my search again. And now I've got 144 results. But sometimes it might not be called treatment. It could also be called therapy as well. So what I can do is in the same line, I can put in the word or, and then put in the word therapy and click on search. And now what my search is doing is looking for anything with the word diabetes and treatment or diabetes and therapy. And you'll see I now have 266 results. So I've got a good range of results there. Once again, I still have these options down the right-hand side, which include the subject headings, resource type, etc. So I can narrow it down further. But one extra thing I would like to do that I couldn't do previously is on this line here, I want to narrow it down to things published in the last 12 months, because particularly with science and medical information, it's really important to get the most up-to-date information. So I'll click on search again, and then you'll see I've gone from 260 odd down to actually 8 results here. And so I've got some very up-to-date results there. And the first 3 of them are actually online books. So these are also things that you can access from home, even under lockdown, if you're registered with us as one of our state library members. Now, just going back to some of these other options over here, I'll just clear my search now. As I mentioned earlier, I can search within a particular part of the record. One great thing I can do here is find newspapers published in a particular area. So I'm going to click on Place Newspaper Published, and I'm interested in Bendigo papers, but I don't actually know the titles of them. So if I just put in the place here and click on Search, you'll now see on the list here that I've got 36 different titles coming up. Some of them are quite old and only went for a few years, and some of them are still currently going. So that's another tool that you can utilize. Or additionally, another thing that you can do is you can do a search using the in language note option. And I'll just warn you that this won't find everything within a particular language, but it still is a really great start. So I'm going to put in here Chinese and then do a search that way. And I've now come up with 2,868 results, as you can see there. And then from there, I can click on them and explore further. But now I'm going to hand over to Tom.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. All right, so I'm going to show you how you can save items and search results after you've found something that's useful. So I'm starting on our homepage to mention one thing. So this functionality, all of it is available if you're logged in, but some of the features don't work if you're not signed in. So to sign in our catalogue, you need to be a library member. You can easily become a member if you're not already. There's just a link here in the top right-hand corner of the library homepage that allows you to do that. But we'll put in a simple search and I'll show you how this functionality works. So the other thing, if you're not signed in, as I said, some of its functionality still works, but only lasts for your session. So as soon as you close your browser window, anything you save won't be available anymore. So you can see the results from the search here, and in the black bar across the top of the search results is this option, Save Search or Set an Alert. So to save this search, all you have to do is click on that function and you get a notification at the top that says your search was saved to your favorites. And you can also turn on this notification setting. So that was just a little blue link that was next to that notification there. So you just put in your email address or default to the one that's connected to your library membership. And the notifications are an email that's sent once a week that will update you about any changes to a search. So if you've done a search and it's something you're continuing to research on, you can set up a notification to see if there's any new or changed materials in the catalogue. So as well as saving searches, you can save individual results from the search. So that's using these little pin icons that come next to the results. So to save one to my favorites, all you have to do is click. Try that one again, click a bit harder. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening there. There we go, just a bit slow. So you can see now that it's highlighted and that it's been added to my favorites. And there's a little cross through the pin if you wanted to remove it. So as well as adding them individually like that, if there's a number of items, you can use these checkboxes on the side of the search results here to select them in bulk. Or if you want to select a whole page of results, you can also use this checkbox at the top. So you can see here, we've got 10 selected. So if I uncheck that and click a couple, you can now add them to my favorite. So we've just gone through an update with the catalogue to add this new functionality. So if you haven't used the catalogue, or if you've used the catalogue before, you wouldn't have seen these options, but they're recently been added. But there's still a few things we're finalising. So one of the things is there's a little icon here It's a pin icon, which you can't quite see at the moment unless you hover over it, but very soon that will be fixed. So it'll be very obvious here in the right corner of this black bar. So if you click this one, it'll add all of those results that we've selected to my favorites. But the advantage of doing it like this is you can also add a label to help you organize the results that you've selected. So I'll add dogs because that was the search that I've done here. I'll select that. Should just move that. There we go. So all of those now have been added and you can see that they're highlighted. So the other thing you can do once you've selected multiple items is next to the pin item here, there's this ellipsis item, which allows you to save and export your results. So there's a few options you can do once you click on this item. The first few here around citations. So the exporting RAS is exporting the catalogue information in a citation format. And then the next 4 are exporting them directly to citation managers. So if you have one of those programs, you can do that. And then you can also email them to yourself or print them. So the thing to remember is only emailing or printing the actual catalogue information, not the item themselves. So I'll just close this one here. And if you want to see the items that you've saved, this little pin icon here is go to my favorites. So you can click that one at any time and it comes up with the items you saved. So you can see under my saved items is the ones we've just selected and the tag that we put on them. And you can also use your tags to filter by things that you've selected in the past. So you can see here, I've got a couple of tags. You can also sort them based on this drop-down menu here. And then the saved searches are in the next tab. You can easily control your notifications using the little bell. And then your search history is there as well. So you can add searches that you've done within this session. So that's only each time a browser window is open. When you close a browser window, your search history will disappear. But if you're logged in, your saved items and saved searches will remain. The other thing to point out is there's more details about your account and the functionality in the help section. So if you click on here, it'll open up a page with a whole lot of information about things that we've talked about today, including using the advanced search and adding to my favorites in my account. But I'll hand back to Sarah now to see if we've had any questions.
Excellent, thank you, Tom. So that catalogue help page is really useful for getting further help. You can also click on stories on our website to view all of our online collections videos, and this one will be up there after we finish today. And finally, at the bottom of the screen, on every web page, we've got this Ask a Librarian link so that you can ask us questions and we're available anytime to answer those. But if you've got any questions right now, you can head across to Slido and ask us. I'll start off with one of the frequently asked questions we get from our users, newbies and advanced catalogue users. And they say, help, why can't I sign in? So there are 2 things to check. First of all is your account valid? If you haven't used it for a few years, you might need to renew it. You can always check with us through the Ask a Librarian service. And the second thing to check is, are you entering your details correctly? Make sure that you've got numbers in the right order and that you're spelling your surname correctly. Also make sure there are no extra spaces. Sometimes if you copy and paste or if you use the autofill option, it includes a space and you can't see that, and that will actually stop you signing in. Let us know what you're trying to access. If you're still having problems, we'll make sure there's no issues on our end. Excellent. Now, so we do have a question that's come in. Here's one about keywords. Do more keywords make for a better search? And you've got 2 methods when you approach your search. You can start general to begin with and then narrow your results, or you can start really specific and put in quite a few different keywords. And they can certainly make it easier for you to find relevant things. Just make sure when you choose your keywords, you're not actually cutting out any results that might be relevant where one of those words isn't found. And I might actually hand over to Rebecca because there's another question that we've got, and it's about using Boolean phrases. So Rebecca, when you use or as a Boolean phrase, can you just explain that? And does it have to be in capitals?
Thanks very much, Sarah. Yes, so what the Boolean search is referring to is if I want to use, say I want one word and another word, or I want one word or one word. That's one example of what's called Boolean searching for those of you who don't know. So if I put or in there, and yes, it does need to be in capitals, what it means is that I want one word or the other word, and but if I put and in there, so if I had to put in treatment and therapy when I was doing the earlier search, it would have meant that I wanted both of those words to appear in the record. So that might have knocked out quite a few results. So hopefully that answers both of those questions. And one other thing that I didn't point out earlier was using the exact phrase option too. That's a very useful device. So if I put in, I want to do a search on Queen Victoria, for example. First of all, if I don't use exact phrase and do a search, what it's going to do now is look for anything that's got both of those words in it. So I'll perform that search now, and you'll see I've got, well, once it's finished the search, I now have, oops, I better get rid of language note. That's another trick there to warn you of. Just make sure I've gone back to any. Okay, we'll do that again. Right, I've now got over 3,000, almost 4,000 results. But when you look at the subjects down the right-hand side, you'll see that some of them are referring to things like Queen Street, Queen Victoria Market, and markets, etc. But I wasn't interested in that. I was actually interested in Queen Victoria, the Queen of England. So one way of fixing that initially is I can change this here and choose the exact phrase option. What that's doing is it's meaning I'm only looking for things where Queen Victoria as a phrase is in it. So that will work partially in terms of not just showing things that have the word Queen in it and then 3 lines later having the word Victoria in it. So at the moment, with over the 3,800 results, I'll just do the search now. And you'll see that I've now gone down to 1,400 and something results. But I'm still only interested in the Queen. So I'm going to put in here the word biography because I don't want it to be about the market. This is one way of doing it. So I'll click on search there. And now you'll see I'm down to 132 results. And from the subject headings down the right-hand side there, you can see there's no more mention of Queen Victoria Market or anything along those lines. There are a couple of odd ones there. However, for example, physicians and so on, which I might need to explore what those three are. But if I wanted to make sure I get rid of those, another thing I could do is exclude that subject heading by, on the right-hand side here, clicking on exclude that subject. And now that's disappeared. So I'll hand back to you, Sarah.
Excellent. Thanks, Rebecca. And just a note on advanced search. This is an answer to another question that we've had. Just bear in mind that you're not actually searching within the contents of each item. It's just what appears in the catalogue record. So that could include any subject notes, any contents notes, or the title and publisher details. Now, over to Tom. We've got a question about search notifications. Can you set up multiple search notifications?
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, you definitely can set up multiple search notifications. So back here at the catalogue homepage, so if we go back to my favorites and look at the saved searches, I can click it here. You can basically set up any notification for a search you've saved. So the little bell icon here allows you to select that notification. So if I click on that, the same message will come up and it will send it to my default email connected to my membership, and you can change that address if you need to, and then you can see that notification is set up there. So if you want to stop receiving the emails you've already set up, you're not interested in that search anymore, you can easily just unselect the notification. So it's any search results that you've saved. So make sure you save the results first, and then you'll be able to control the notifications. All right, back to you, Sarah.
All right, so I had one more question come in about, can you find and open up a book or an article. Let me see. So physical items, no, you'll have to come in when we're open again and look at those. But you can look at our ebooks through the catalogue. So we've actually got another video that we've done all about ebooks, but I'll just show you quickly. If I select ebooks there, and if I redo my plants search, so all the access details are included with the catalogue record. And so when we see our brief results list, we'll also see a link if it's available online, and we can click that link to open it and actually read it right away. So it does take a little while to load, and then scrolling down, carnivorous plants, that's a good one. I would click on this availability statement. I will be prompted to sign in with my barcode and read it within the browser. Likewise for articles, I could choose articles from this drop-down menu. And once again, I could run that search and click on the available online link. Okay, that's all of the questions that we've got. I think we might wrap it up there. What you can always do is, going back to our homepage, we've got that Ask a Librarian link. I'll remind you that you can put your questions in there. You can see this video and others in this series under stories. And you can provide in feedback as well about what videos you'd like to see coming up. We've got another one for you next Thursday at 3 o'clock again. We'll be looking more closely at databases. So see you then. Bye.